Hello everybody, it's Leo here. We are back. We have a brand new show for you guys, which we think is going to take you and us on quite the adventure. This series is going to span a campaign set in the world of Symbaroum. This is a game made by the people over at Free League Publishing. They are well known for making the One Ring system, which is the official Lord of the Rings system. They've also made tabletop games for Alien, The Walking Dead, and they have a range of really cool, very unique little niche games in there as well, which I absolutely recommend you go and check out. Symbaroum is a dark fantasy game and setting. It's very grim and gritty. There will be mature themes and language. We're going to be diving into some challenging subject matter, all with the attempt to get beneath the characters to bring out some really raw storytelling. And to play these characters, I would like to reintroduce to you some cast members from Season 1 and some of my closest friends.
Hi, my name is Kim and I play Astrid.
Hello, I'm Daniel and I play Lysander and his bird companion Meliora.
Hello, my name is Raz, and I will be playing Trig the Troll.
Now, before we break down the character descriptions, what we can expect from them, I want to take a few seconds just to explain a little bit about Symbaroum as a game, mechanically. Symbaroum is a tabletop role-playing game. The players at the table have all made characters, and these characters are represented better by a sheet that is in front of them. This sheet contains a number of special powers and unique abilities, but the one thing that they all share in common is their attributes. All of the players have access to 8 attributes. These range from accuracy and cunning to how persuasive they are, to how strong their willpower is or their body, or how perceptive they can be. Now these guys, they've designated points into these 8 attributes differently based on their character. So all 3 of them should be quite unique. Now, I could get into a load of exposition on how the game works mechanically, but we're not going to do that. It's not fun. Instead, all I'm going to share is this. Throughout the game, I, Leo, the GM, will ask the players to test the skill of their characters. Usually, this is going to be by calling upon one of their 8 attributes. All the players need to do is take a 20-sided die, or a d20 as we know it, and roll equal to or lower than the number in that attribute. Let's make a really quick example here. Let's pretend one of our characters has a persuasive score of 10. This is a very average stat. Usually an attribute is no higher than 15, and they're usually no lower than 5. We're going to pretend that I've asked this character to make a very inciting speech, and they need to persuade people. The player would roll their d20, and they are trying to score 10 or lower to succeed. Now, because the players are more likely to just be calling out when things fail or succeed, you will hear this sound on a success, and you will hear this sound on a failure. I think that's just about all you need for now. And there's going to be other things that pop up, and I'll be sure to explain them as and when they arise. But let's have a little look at our characters. You guys have come up with some very interesting characters, which I've had the pleasure of looking over and discussing with you. And I'm just going to ask you guys now, before we get too far in. Kim, what are you bringing to this game? What are we going to experience from you this time?
Well, this time along, I'm playing my character Astrid. Astrid. She's a ginger-haired, kind of stocky woman. Stocky, is that a good word?
I mean, yeah, stocky built.
Yeah.
Like she's
sturdy. Like a long dwarf.
Devoted to the Church of Perilous. So she's a religious
crusader
woman. Not really a paladin, not really a priest, somewhere in between, you know.
Finding herself through her religion,
Absolutely,
basically.
Yes. Yeah. And I hope she's going to be a bit of a badass, but we'll see. We'll see where it takes it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Daniel, what are you going to play this time? You're not Gorm anymore.
No.
So
sadly.
I'm playing a changeling called Lysander. And he's just kind of a wanderer, walks around the forest and in Ambria. He's a healer, he's good with plants, can talk to animals, a little thing.
That's always
Very
handy
cool.
to have.
Yeah.
It's good to be able to speak.
Smacks people with a stick. It's kind of his thing.
He smacks people with a stick. Does he smack the ones that try and talk to the animals as well?
Yeah, he's very jealous. No.
Does he smack any of the animals?
No.
No.
Unless they try to eat him, I suppose.
How would you describe him?
Slender, pale grey skin, pale eyes, shaved sides, a bit of hair on his head, long pointy ears.
Has he got the zoomer haircut? No. Oh.
Bit of a zoom head.
kind of the classic Viking haircut that's kind of shaved on the side, and then back. So we got a lot of Viking going on. And he has quite a sloped forehead, so kind of classic Symbaroum changeling.
Was he quite slender? What's his build like?
Yeah, he's a slender man. Not a slender man, but a slender man.
Oh no. If he just disappears for a second and you see him slightly in a haze, just standing somewhere in the distance.
Just in a suit.
It's not the only character you're playing with. There's an addition.
Yes. He has a pet, which is
Ooh.
it's basically a blood-themed phoenix. So
That's
call
cool.
it, yeah,
Bloodbird.
call it a sangrine.
A sangrine, a beautiful red feather bird, like a
Yes.
phoenix bird.
Sounds like the sort of delicious thirst quencher you'd have at like a Spanish cafe.
Sangrine oranges.
Oh yeah.
I think they're a thing, aren't they?
Are they?
They are.
I think
I think
sanguine
so.
or something means bloody in Latin.
Latin.
Sanguine. Yeah.
Sangrine. Very cool. What's the bird called, by the way?
Meliora.
Meliora.
Every time, I'm so sorry, but every time I hear that name, I just think of the Ghost BC album.
Really?
Yeah,
The what?
there's like a song or an album by Ghost that is called Meliora.
Okay.
How does it go, Kim? Why don't you sing it? You can only do 5 seconds,
no.
otherwise we get copyright
I think it's
stuff.
an album, so I can't sing it.
And Raz, you're going to do something quite different.
A little
In
bit.
all the games
Yeah.
that you and I have played together, I think this is I'm actually the most excited for this. No pressure.
Okay, yeah, no pressure. Gotta just perform.
On the spot, dance monkey.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you bring the gun and the peanuts. This time around, I'm playing Trig the Troll. Now, my guy Trig here, he is this absolute beefy, hulking mountain of muscle that has been living in the woods as a hermit for many years. He's a bit of a mystic, a shaman, but he's also a troll and a brutal warrior at that. And I'm excited to bring him to this the world and kick gum and chew ass.
How big is he? Like, what's his scale?
Yeah. In meters.
In meters, he's
In meters.
2.75.
That's really tall.
That's quite tall.
Are you going to allow me to? I mean, you could describe to the other players the intricacy of all the doorways as you go into them. You're going to see
I
most of
doubt
them.
that you'll fit through many of them.
There will be issues with
Crawling,
doorways.
maybe.
He's going to start the game with a straight spine,
Yeah.
end it like a completely bent over.
I don't know. I in my head, I'm just seeing the troll from Lord of the Rings, the one they fight in Moria.
Goodness gracious!
I mean, he's not very handsome, but he's not that uggo.
I was more thinking like the Harry Potter dungeon troll, you know?
Oh no, Raz! You need to tell them what he actually looks like because we got to set the ground here.
Oh no.
You can just imagine a very large humanoid. He's got some exaggerated features, long, pointy ears. He's got some massive horns, like those of a bull. Big, puffy gray beard, matted, long, wild gray hair.
It's got some Viking
He's
kind of aesthetics
definite
going
Viking
on.
vibes, and that is I think that is intentional in the design here.
Our story begins on the slopes of the Titans, a series of jagged and towering mountains found north of the dead and blighted lands of Alberator, and due south of the Promised Lands, the realm of Ambria, to where all roads of hope lead. It's cold. The stars shimmer overhead. The brightest of them all, the winter star, illuminates your way. Lysander, Astrid, You shiver endlessly. Your breath comes misty and your senses are battered by the freezing temperatures. You stride through waist-high snow and know very well that if you do not find warmth soon and shelter, that you will not make it down from these harsh and vicious mountains.
Well, Lysander's wrapped in a cloak since it's freezing out here, and I guess he's trying to trek a little bit ahead, looking for any kind of sign of a path to a cave or anything like that.
It would not be hard for him to fall a bit in the front. As Astrid, trekking through the snow, keeps breathing some warm air into her hands, and I can't hear Leo anymore.
Yeah, I'm not talking. That's
oh, oh, you moved your mouth. You were moving your mouth like you were talking.
I'm chewing.
Oh. All right. Anyway. She's breathing into her hands, rubbing them together, and like dressed in her heavy cloak and half plate goes up her legs, and gauntlets and some shoulders, I imagine. She tries her best to keep herself warm, but with her limp, it's kind of hard to keep up the pace.
And your joints as well. You know how like when the weather changes, often people with arthritis, I'm not saying she has that, but people with injuries, she's sort of bent over and just clawing through the snow. But like, you know, people feel that, don't they? And like it's a certain joint really swells up and hurts. And you can just see the look on her face, Lysander, when you look back at her, and just the furrow in her brow against the cold. And you can even see the kind of pale blueness of her fingertips forming. You're looking around, and Lysander, you spot it first, being ahead, and also with the vigilance score that you have, you see fire burning.
Oh.
Maybe no more than half a kilometer further down the mountainside. And you see survival ahead of you.
Lysander's gonna do like a quite a loud, reverberating kind of whistle to call for Meliora to come down. And she's just gonna like fly down and fly and like waft her wings, hovering near him, and he's just gonna ask her to like fly ahead and have a look what's there.
She takes off. She swoops up into the air, creating enough altitude as not to be shot down by potential archers or be attacked by any of the flying predators. And only a few minutes pass before she returns, and you get the idea that it's a small encampment from her. And it's probably a safe place to lay your head. And you, Astrid, can just hear lots of chirps. And not so much from Lysander, I imagine.
No, he just speaks normally. So will she be able to tell him who's there? Is it humans? Is it?
It appears that there are at least 3 humans, and there are roughly, this is what she would say, 2 large things, movie things.
Movie things or moving things?
Moving things. Like
movie things.
Hollywood.
There's an
Hollywood actress.
Hollywood is there.
Brad Pitt is
Angelina
here.
Jolie is directing. She's
Brad
working on
Pitt.
it. Brad and Angelina, they're back together? That's amazing. No, moving things.
Moving things. I thought so. Well, Lysander's going to turn to Astrid and then just talk to her. There's a camp ahead. Some humans, probably. Something large.
Friendly?
I don't know.
Guess we'll find out.
I mean, better than freezing. Well, Lysander's going to send Meliora off again to be at a safe distance, and he'll go ahead and walk first towards the camp.
Well, getting through that snow takes a good while, and only the heat of the fire is the most motivating force you can think of. And eventually, you come up to this small camp perched lower in the rugged mountain terrain. You come upon a makeshift circle. A weathered caravan and a concealed jail wagon are draped with a thick sheet, their presence blending with the natural surroundings. And in the heart of the camp, a roaring fire casts a mesmerizing glow, providing warm refuge amid this chilling mountain air. Wait. Who's that, Keller? A stuttering man stands up, a grimy, greasy-looking man. Somebody with sallow cheeks, red raw skin, and blackened hair in his mid-40s. Who are you?
Well, Lysander's carrying his staff, which is just a long bit of sturdy wood. He holds up his free hand. It's like, we're just friendlies.
Friendlies? Says an old man, worn and weathered, greying hair, a staff clutched in his arms, a walking stick more, not so much a symbol of any mystical order. Let them in, Keller, let them in. It's freezing. They will die.
I would appreciate sharing your fire.
That we would.
Is it just the two of you? Says the old man.
I think at that point, Lysander's going to do that whistle again and just have Meliora come down so she can share the fire as well. So she's just going to fly down and like perch on, like he's holding the stick upright and she's going to perch on like the tip of it.
For a second, it nearly startles the man known by Keller, the rather unhealthy-looking man. He reached for his bow for just a second before the old man places his own hand to settle his assistant. My name is Telk. This is my caravan. We are passing through the mountains and 3 days left until we reach the base. Come, get warm. And is your creature okay there?
Oh, yeah, she's fine. I'm Lysander, this is Meliora, and that's Astrid.
Astrid does a little wave, but then quickly folds her hands under her armpits again. It's cold.
It's a good idea.
Don't worry, she's far more likely to hurt you than the bird, so...
The old man chuckles.
Nothing to fear from me.
The person that startles next is the third figure that hasn't introduced himself, kneeling down next to the fire with a small stone disc down at its base with a rune etched on it. There was a rather skinny, slender young man who, a scholarly sort with wiry hair, and he was chanting over this rune, and he lost himself in it until he looks up and he just has this anxious expression on his face. Oh, hi, Bartolom. I'm a novice of the Auto Magica. It's freezing.
It's really cold, Astrid says as she approaches the fire and starts warming her hands.
But this will keep the fire hot, so get in close. Do you know what one of these are?
I know it's a rune, but...
It's a sunstone.
Huh.
It's how we're stopping ourselves from getting frostbite.
Did you make it yourself?
No, it was given to me by my master, Selena. Do you know her?
Astrid shrugs, shakes her head.
Oh, you're very welcome here. Don't worry about that. And he points behind him at this large jail wagon that's got this big sheet over it. And for just a second, the whole thing shifts and shakes as if an elephant's inside of it.
Astrid quirks an eyebrow, passes a look over her shoulder to Telk.
The wagon with the sheet on it, it's not mine.
You know this is a dangerous route to walk when there's just 3 of you.
Oh, yes, and that's why those soldiers joined us. There is safety in numbers, you know, especially in these parts. I take it you speak of Malrogan.
Astrid nods solemnly.
A true menace in these parts, foul abomination, undead highwayman and a ruthless bandit leader.
You notice how the man recoils at his own words.
And if the mountain wasn't already dangerous enough... Keller, you've seen him, haven't you?
No, just the once, he says, with his stutter. Just the once.
And when was that?
A few weeks back, I think. And he stands up and busies himself over in their caravan. You hear the door close as he goes into the wagon.
Pay must be good to be out here.
Oh, I pay what I can. Don't mind him. His nerves are as shot as his words. I'm lucky to have him and our passenger here, this novice with his warm sunstone. I offered the young man here half the fee just for that alone. But nevertheless, those soldiers with their wagon, they've kept the Jakar at bay.
I see.
Lysander is gonna let Meliora hop down to the ground and just let herself be seated by the fire, and he's gonna walk over to this big covered cage, have a closer look.
Oh, please be careful, please. Those soldiers will be back soon, but they're not the easiest of people to... Oh, never mind.
A slight smirk passes over Astrid.
I'll be fine.
Amused.
He's gonna walk up to it, and like with his stick, he's just gonna kind of tap the side of it a few times.
Oh yes, because you use staff, don't you?
Yes.
You have a walk, like a long wooden
It's
staff.
a quarter staff you would fight with, so it's quite a thick staff, but it is just like a piece of thick wood that looks like it's been carved out. So it's nothing special, but it's an excellent walking stick.
Excellent. This is a good walking stick.
You grab your staff, and are you just pulling at the fabric that lines over this big?
No, he's just gonna tap the side of it.
Tap the side. You tap the side of it.
Yeah, with the staff.
Like one of those kids at a fucking zoo. Like,
There might be a lion in there.
yeah, do something. Why is it sleeping, Mom?
Does it do something?
It does do something.
The bars, by the way, there's about 2 inches between each bar, so keep that in mind.
2 inches? That like?
It's about that. It's about that. It's great on a podcast, isn't it? Yeah, it's about that wide.
It's about that.
It's about the length from I believe it's from the tip of your thumb to the base of your to where the thumb meets the hand.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, it does react. There's a very sudden and intense impact from the other side of the the wagon, or the inside of the wagon, I mean. And the whole thing just jostles quite violently towards you.
Oh shit. Well, Lysander's just gonna like jerk back, quite startled.
Do you make any sounds when you do that?
It's probably a little like, oh.
Well, in response to your "Whoa," there's a deep and little rumbly like chuckle from in there. Just a little.
I think Lysander's going to take the chance, like carefully stepping forward and just lifting up the very bottom of like the big sheet and having a look up under what's inside.
Well, how well lit is it?
It's very dim in there.
Very dim.
Does anything glow back? You just see an asshole just pressed up against
Just a pucker.
Oh my
It's
god.
very stinky.
just a big asshole pressed against the bars.
No.
No asshole, but
It's the moon.
oh, beautiful! It's the full moon. You've captured
That's
it.
no moon.
That's a space.
That's no moon. There is a figure in the dark that inches closer as you remove the fabric or you lift it, until you can make out the contour of this massive face sort of approach the bars. You can see the mist of this warm breath just roll across the bars and meet your face.
I'd be careful if I were you. You see a man coming out of the clearing behind with another following him. The first one is snivelly and crooked looking with auburn hair,
Ew.
a pointed nose and a cleft on his chin. The one that follows behind is much taller, broader of the shoulder, bigger build and stronger with long, straight hair. The two of them appear to be soldiers of Indauros, men of the Queen. That's a troll under there. The auburn-haired man comes forward, pulling at the sheet over the wagon, pulling it free and allowing the moon to bask over the surface and to reveal the creature within.
Now, at this point, can I fire up some beast lore?
You can definitely fire up some beast lore.
So that's a cunning check, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and make a cunning test.
Oof, a 15. That's failed.
Failed. What were you trying to do?
I guess it's mostly based on the chuckle. I guess he wants to see if this is a dangerous troll or a more sentient troll. I guess that's the question here.
Perhaps you were a little bit startled when these two men came out of the clearing. Astrid, you would see them as well, appearing out of the edge of the tree line, and one of them has a torch. He steps forward, this snivelly, foul man, and says, "Name's Loust. This is Dreg. We're looking after our friend here."
Why is he in a cage?
You soft in the head, changeling. What do? See your face, then choose to leave you in your crib? It's a bleeding troll, and it'll bleed and eat a village at that. In fact, this one did. Or so I'm told.
I mean, I've seen a few, but I haven't talked to one before.
Don't forget the bone marrow bread. I make bone marrow bread too.
Shut it.
The man takes out his knife as he goes up to the bars.
I've always wondered, you troll sorts. They say you can regrow anything. They say that it just comes straight back.
Jealous?
The man swooshes forward with his knife and he slices off your index finger.
Ooh. Yeah, that's...
It drops down, falling to the bottom
Oh, God.
of the wagon. He takes it and looks at it. Very quickly, not putting his hand too far into the cage.
I wonder if you'll grow back from this.
The troll behind the bars extends the middle finger. I suppose we'll see.
Already, the wound is sealing, and you can feel that itchy sensation of the bone pushing, the finger elongating slowly. It will take a few hours for it to fully return. This isn't just a laceration or a stab that you can heal very quickly, but it will come back.
It's like the sensation you get when you come in from the cold, and you've been very cold and it's itchy.
And you two managed to take him in yourself.
The man peers round, seeing you. He suddenly stands up straight, licks his lips a little bit, and swaggers forward, seeing a woman in the camp.
Aye, beautiful. Wouldn't you like to know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, some men dead, but not me, not Loust. I wheeled that one into his cage just using my smile.
Lysander's gonna kind of lean back towards the cage a little bit, and it's like, that's more dangerous than the cage.
Astrid looks incredibly unimpressed.
What are you doing here?
Me? I'm just, faithful of Prius.
You one of them black cloaks?
I wouldn't say so. A man such as yourself is not afraid of the dangers that lurk these roads, then.
If you're talking about Malrogan, no, love. I could keep you warm and safe in my bedroll. You and I.
Actually, she starts laughing, like, in his face.
You actually look over the shoulder, and Dreg, who this larger man, crosses his arms, and he is so done with this guy. And he just shakes his head as well.
Lysander kind of cringes and steps away from them towards the cage.
Actually back to the bars.
You want to say that again?
Well, I don't know, love. I mean, a good-looking guy like me and a...
You better watch your words.
Go ahead and make a persuasive check.
Oh, okay.
And I tell you what you can do. You can get a +3 to this. Oh.
Yes.
He starts to stammer a little bit. You see that man, Keller, the other kind of greasy-looking fellow, the man in his mid-40s by the fire. He snorts a few times. Way over your head there, mate. Shut up. And the man strides away from you, embarrassed, bright red cheeks, his eyes darting. He comes forward and he grabs that finger that he'd cut from the troll and squeezes it in his hand before throwing the knife he had right at the troll, which sinks into your left shoulder.
God damn.
How is this cage locked? Like, it would have to be pretty secure, right?
It's quite secure. There's multiple chains over the back door. There's just a single entrance up the little steps at the back, like a kind of a single door there with multiple chains over it, and I would say a good, solid blacksmith's padlock.
Now, obviously, when this happens. It's not comfortable. He's quite robust, but this isn't a nice thing. So there is like a quite primal response, and taking it out on the wagon around him. You see like the panels, the boards, sort of just sway slightly as it kicks against the wagon.
I want to grab him by the shoulder.
You stride on up, you get up, you wade through the camp, and you
grab him by the shoulder and just like give him a sort of a jostle or whatever you call it.
You're coming in for a kiss, love, he says as he turns on the spot.
I told you, you better be careful. And from what I've heard, you've been nothing but trouble around here. And you just gave that troll a knife, so I better stay away if I were you.
He looks to you and the troll, and Dreg just literally face palms slowly, watching this all happen.
The troll is holding this knife now, and he's very happy about it. And he shows the already beginning to sort of heal stub of his finger, and he uses it to point at the finger that he took. You better be careful with that, or it'll grow a new troll.
I'm gonna do a patrol. Keep you lot safe. Don't have to worry about anything.
Good idea.
Where are you taking the troll?
In Daros, of course. They're gonna hang him, burn his blubber on a crackling fire. What else do you do with trolls, you idiot?
Like to see a tree big enough?
Well, Lysander doesn't do anything. He just kind of looks at the troll, gives a slight nod of his head, and walks back to join Astrid at the fire.
Go on then, patrol, she says, like letting go of him and giving him a little push on the shoulder.
The man Dreg just mouths a sorry at you as this snivelly redhead man joins him. And the two pick up some torches, grab their weapons, and they head off back into the tree line.
What happened to the finger?
The finger, I guess it's somewhere on the ground, not far from the wagon. This thing, by the way, is like a giant bloated sausage.
I think Lysander's going to walk over and pick it up, and he's going to look at Trig and like, can I have this?
Trig has never been asked that question. He just sort of looks confused, and he looks at the stump, and he just looks back at Lysander. I don't need it anymore.
Ah, well, thanks. And he's going to toss it over to Meliora, who's just going to...
The bird snatches it out of the air, right? Before it even hits the ground. And you just see as, like, this bloodlust comes over her, and she's talloning it and pecking at it, and blood coming out of the finger, and she's devouring it.
It's very tough meat.
Yeah.
She's a very tough bird.
She's loving it.
She's bloody loving it. He's just going to look to Trig and like, thanks. She only eats raw meat, so...
He gives a thumbs up.
Me too.
Me too.
I guess now the troll has Astrid's attention now that the guards have sorted off for a bit. So she turns around and gets a closer look through the bars. You're quite different to the rest of your kind, it seems.
I could say the same for you.
Fair. How did you manage to get yourself caught?
I had a bad day.
Oh, we all have those.
Deep in the forest, they speak of trolls. Well, trolls that speak, but never met one before. Do you have a name?
They call me Trig.
Well, hello, Trig. I'm Lysander.
Astrid.
Too many syllables. And your friend. And he points to the bird.
That's Meliora. She's just eating right now.
She's rolling in the blood that's left over just to clean her feathers.
Her bloodlust is impressive.
She's a very impressive bird. So, getting hanged. That doesn't sound fun.
I don't expect it to be. But, I won't go without a fight.
It's It's gonna be difficult once you get to the city. I think Lysander's gonna look at Astrid, kind of gauging where she's at with all this.
From what you've learned of Astrid of the past few days, especially when the circumstances are unfriendly, she becomes a bit more stoic. She's mostly, like, her brow is furrowed. She's mostly thinking about this, but she definitely looks at Trig with some kind of intrigue, like it's quite interesting, but yeah.
She's quite pragmatic.
Pragmatic.
I don't think it's difficult to tell by Lysander the way he's kind of inspecting the cage and talking to the troll that he wants to let the troll go.
Yeah. And she kind of gives him a bit of a warning look, like, let's not, her not to meddle in things that shouldn't be meddled in all too much, but...
Well, Lysander just kind of looks back at Trig, gives him a slight shrug.
He shrugs back.
Astrid turns back to the fire. Passing Lysander, like bumping his shoulder, she whispers to him, I won't tell on what I can't see, she says. Trudging back to the fire, gives him a bit of like a challenging shrug.
Nice. And how, we know is there like a big padlock on all these chains? What's the deal?
There's just a giant padlock the size of a brick hanging off of one of the chains.
And I assume there's no key inside. Someone has to say.
Oh, it's just on a little crate next to the door.
It's like swirling softly in the air with some sparkles next to it.
It has wings and there's a broom.
Oh God, that'd be such a crossover. I don't know if I want that, but no, I'm afraid there is no.
No, I assumed not.
And it's actually it's going to be quite a difficult kind of thing to pick if you even had tools for it, because it's actually, I believe it's the medium to smaller locks which are easier. That thing with just wrenching it with a twig.
I think Lysander's just gonna lower his voice, kind of lean towards the cage. Can't you just kick it down?
The troll responds by pointing the finger at the bar where the lock is hanging, and you can see that it's sort of marred and slightly just bent and twisted. It's been he's worked at it.
Well, Lysander's gonna head back to the fire. I guess everyone's gathered there except the two who went on patrol.
The old man and Keller, the middle-aged man there, they're actually laying down bedrolls around the fire. Bartolom is saying a last few words over the stone, and he nods his head a few times. I think that will do it. Yeah, should last. All right. Good night, everyone.
Aren't you worried about the troll getting out while you sleep?
Honestly, I've had a conversation with the troll. I think he's quite nice.
Oh. Speaking of, what's someone from the Ordo Magica doing here?
Oh. I was coming back this way from Alberator. My master sent me down there, and I saw this caravan on the way back, and often many of our order help out with things where we can, expeditions, and I had the sunstone, and I know they would need to stay warm. Not a lot of the firewood up here is dry enough to use. And you do notice, as you look, that this whole fire is going on only 2 logs. It shouldn't burn this well.
Safety in numbers.
Not many of us here, but I agree. Good night, ma'am.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Gets inside his bedroll.
Astrid kind of sits by the fire on a log or something, chewing on one of those dried meat rations. Very chewy,
best.
like the
It's troll jerky.
ripping it off. Yeah.
You kind of want to swallow at some point, but your body
You're
just
just
refuses.
chewing and chewing, and it just doesn't go. Yeah.
After about an hour of chewing, you can start to ask yourself, is that pig or fish? It's great fun.
Whatever it once was, it is not anymore.
Lysander's gonna move over. He's just petting Millie around the way, like just patting her head and sitting down next to Astrid on the log. So, what are you thinking here?
She shrugs a bit. Just trying to stay warm. that I think there's more than that going on around in that head of yours.
I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about.
Surely.
No, that's a bit hard getting into the cage.
Well, she lowers her voice a bit. The locks are pretty big. They definitely intended to keep a troll in there.
And I suppose one of those two has the key.
She nods. Probably the black-haired one. From the looks of it.
Which one was it that hit on?
That was the snivelly, the red-haired one, the snivelly one. More ganglier one of the two.
Greg is
Loused.
the black-haired one, yeah.
Breaking trolls out of cages isn't exactly something I've done before.
Astrid moves up from the tree stump and takes a few steps back towards the cage. And she actually extends her hand into the cage to offer Trig a piece of ration, like of the rations that she has. She's not looking him in the eye, she's looking at the lock, but she does still, like, yeah.
So she's in conflict with herself about this,
Oh,
this
yeah.
gesture she's doing.
Yeah. She's looking at the lock, she's inspecting it, but she sort of absentmindedly tries to pass her on one of the rations. The dried meat sticks.
She'll see him there, sitting cross-legged in the cage. Just amber, piercing eyes, just glaring through the dark at them as if he's following their conversation, but he's not saying anything. And he'll look at the offering. There's a bit of suspicion, but he's quite hungry, so he'll accept it. Is your hand in the cage?
Yeah.
Well, there's this massive hand that just reaches forward out of the dark.
You see her grip falter just a bit, but she...
Well, he grabs onto this stick close enough to your hand that it brushes against it, and you can feel the icy cold, rough harshness of that troll skin. And he lingers there for a second, as if to say thank you, but he doesn't. He takes it back and just shoves it in his mouth.
That's if she lets go.
One bite. Yeah, she lets go.
Pulling over a piece of
She
jerky.
lets go and lets her eyes like water over his for just a moment before focusing back on the lock.
Ooh. If you're looking at the lock and you're staring up, you notice there's something else. On top of the wagon, there are some huge ropes strapping around the roof, under the roof, and there appears to be a giant hammer strapped on top, along with what appears to be an oversized, like, rucksack.
The lock. It's very cold out here. So does it look particularly frozen-like?
I know what you're thinking, but I must stress to you, this iron lock is too big to just break with brittle.
Over. Yeah, okay.
This is literally this is the kind of lock you give someone and only 2 guards to take a troll. Like it's strong enough that you would need a key or some very big lockers, stabbers, things. You know what I'm saying?
The hammer's too big to pass into the cage, isn't it? Like you can't get through the bars.
Well, the hammer itself is about as big as you are, changeling. If you were to put the head of it down on the ground and then hold it up like a pole, it would probably reach your height and as wide as you. It's huge, absolutely unwieldy. I have to stress this. I actually do not think you are strong enough to lift that hammer. Maybe the 2 of you together could.
You are not worthy.
All right. Without a word, Astrid steps back towards the fire and takes a seat next to Lysander. Yeah, we're gonna need a key.
Yeah. Well, that would mean a fight, I imagine. I mean,
I don't particularly want to get on the bad side of the Queen's army.
Don't suppose you have some Prius authority you could throw around?
She mulls over it for a moment or two.
Let's say he could help us get whatever it is you're here to get.
She nods to herself.
I mean, it is a troll. He seems quite friendly.
All right.
You know, except he gave that guy the finger, but he kind of deserved it.
That he did.
You would notice the two of you are now the only ones awake. Keller has fallen asleep in his sleeping bag. The old man has kind of coiled himself around the fire a bit, and Bartolom is like lying on his back, snoring at the stars.
Yeah. All right. Well, either we go looking for them or we wait for their return.
Roll me a cunning check.
Oh. Oof. Just enough success.
If you go looking for them and you don't know where you're going, you may get lost and you may die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question? Would this be probably one of the first times that these two guys have left him completely alone on account of the changeling and the woman being there?
Yes. With extra people at the camp, they can make some affordable choices to look around and scout. Not to mention, Trig, you would have heard them talking a lot. Even though they acted sly and confidently, they know they're entering Malrogan's territory, and they weren't so worried about nighttime patrols until they got here.
Perfect. Okay. And the bottom of these bars, 2 inches, you said?
I would say 2 inches wide, and there is definitely a gap underneath them as well.
Right. Now there's obviously, hang on, I don't, there's no official rule about this, but I'm gonna say, just for the sake of balance and just my own sort of character idea, that Trig's magical abilities don't extend to that small a size.
No, they don't. But context, Raz.
I'm talking about the shapeshift power.
Ooh, this is very creative. You could be anything. You could be a little dormouse if you wanted to be.
Could I be that small?
Yeah, you're absolutely allowed to be that small. It's a narrative game. You can. We're going to draw the line at insects, like houseflies.
I can't be a bacterium. That's so restrictive of you.
I'm going to be
Come
an
on.
atom.
No, but
I don't mind a dormouse. The smallest is like a dormouse, I think.
what are the other two doing?
They're just sitting at the fire right now.
Smithing a plan.
All right. Well, as they're discussing their plan, if they are astute enough, vigilant enough even, they might hear some sounds.
Go ahead and make me a resolute test.
Oh,
Ooh.
Oh, a natural one. Cannot roll lower than that. So that is an absolute success. What is going on, Trig?
There's some movement. There's some quite unpleasant sounds. There's flesh moving in ways it shouldn't, and tearing, and you hear bones cracking and cartilage just being ripped open.
dear.
And there's grunts and just as this troll shifts and falls and crumples into a smaller shape, an impossibly small shape.
Wow. I think Lysander's gonna get up and like walk towards the cage, having a look at all this. Doesn't seem too frightened, but he's curiously observing.
And there's nothing else left. No loincloths or clothes left around.
Absolutely nothing. There is no inorganic material. There is
Blood.
there's blood and this unidentifiable sludge.
Ew.
Oh, is it like fat cells? Is it like orange?
Oh, gosh.
Like,
It's just filth.
okay, we need a smell for this as well. What would it smell like?
What a smell like. I think I want it to smell, like there's definitely a fleshy, sort of meaty smell in there.
Ew.
Maybe like a heavy steam coming out of the
yeah,
bath.
it's hot. And there's
A hot steaming smell of stinky sludge. Ew.
it's like very organic. But if anyone were to be, familiar with such smells, there is something else, some sort of sour, stinging smell. And if you're familiar with it, it would be the smell of sulfur.
You also suffer 2 points of temporary corruption.
2 points, temporary corruption.
I think Lysander will just quickly look over his shoulders at Astrid, like, what did you give him?
It was just jerky, she says, rolling her shoulders as she gets up and like puts a hand, the flail on her.
He just points to the cage. He's sludge.
Well, out of the
dead?
sludge, you can see a creature moving, and it's a familiar creature. It's a rat. It's a brown, just fuzzy, just dirty. Like you'd almost say it was mangy, but just awful, just looking rat.
Cheetah. No, I can't say that.
And it looks up at you from the sludge, and then it bolts for the bars.
Do I have time to like do a beast lore to see if this is? I believe this to be a real rat or not.
You may. I mean, I think you know.
I think I know. Yeah.
I think you know.
I think when it looked at you, you saw the amber in its eyes.
Yeah. I mean, this creature looks exactly like a rat. There's no like little magical affections on it or anything.
It doesn't have horns.
No.
It's a rat.
And Lysander will move forward and put down his stick, like one part down in the snow, the other part up to the bar to make a little bridge.
The rat sort of changes its trajectory a little bit. It had intended on just fleeing immediately, just getting out of there. But seeing you reach this olive branch out to it, it changes its direction and actually makes, it squeezes under the bars and makes use of this very kind bridge you've made.
You run down the bridge, you get into the snow, and the snow is about a foot thick, so you just sort of
disappear into the snow.
It's so freezing, you start to shake.
He's gonna assume that the help will extend further, and he's gonna run up this man's leg.
The inside of his trousers.
I'll be kind to him and go on the outside of the trouser.
I think Lysander's a little worried. Like he's like a little apprehensive. Like worried that it's going to turn back into a troll and crush him.
Astrid moves forward, grabs the rat's tail and throws him. No.
Into the fire.
Meliora swoops in and eats it. Don't. It's not food.
She's like, what the f*** are you talking about? Yeah, it is.
When you look back at Meliora, you notice something. There are only 2 people sleeping at the fire.
Uh-oh.
And the fire has grown very low indeed. In fact, only the last few flames flicker, giving off warmth. And there is no sign of the sunstone.
Who's missing?
Bartolom is lying there, and so is Telk. The person that is missing
Keller.
is Keller.
Can I have a quick look round to see if I can spot him, or maybe some tracks or something?
Well, the moon is strong. It's a full moon, and the stars are bright. That winter star doing its job and still illuminating the dark. And you peer around. There's no sign of him here until eventually past the caravan, you see some deep tracks leading off into the woods.
That's a tad odd.
Bartolom wakes up. Oh, it's freezing. Where's the stone? Where's the stone? He stands up and this massive robe he wears, which dwarfs his skinny form. He pulls up the sleeves on them, which takes a while. He's rustling about in the ashes of the fire that's now nearly gone out.
All right, well, Lysander will look to Meliora and point to the tracks and just kindly ask her, will you go see where he is?
I think your dear friend Keller has taken a run with it.
It's not my friend. It's his. And Telk is still fast asleep, the old man snoring away.
Lysander's gonna look to where's the rat right now?
Where is the rat?
I'll say the rat has climbed to Lysander's pocket.
Okay. Let's Lysander just kind of speak out into the air. Like, if there was a rat around here, would it need its hammer, or could we just run? It's not gonna make much sense, but he's just kind of gonna say it into the air.
I mean, he does obviously need his hammer. Let's be real. But he can't speak.
He can actually.
He can?
You can. There's only one person here that can understand you.
Oh, That's right.
That's so cool. Oh my god.
I totally forgot about that.
But I feel like for the audience, you should still do your troll voice.
All right. Well, how can you tell me, Lysander? How does this beast speech work?
He'll understand the words as though he's just hearing normal speak, but when he speaks, it doesn't come out as a rat, but it just comes out as normal voice.
Okay.
There's there's a translator like in the air in between you.
He's got a babel fish.
Yeah.
I will need my hammer.
Nah. Well, in that case, I think Lysander's gonna very gingerly reach into his pocket and try and like lift out the little rat. And just put him down on the snow. And just be like, yeah, just go back. And he's gonna take a step to the side.
The rat looks to Lysander and then at the remaining gentlemen at the fire. Remembering his quite nice conversation with Bartolom, he decides this is probably what they need to do. So I do believe I need to make a resolute test to change back.
From what I understand, you've got to cast it fresh to go back again.
I do have to make this test.
Go on then.
Oh.
You watch him like just settle down and he starts to shake, and there's steam that kind of forms under the ice where he's sat on, causing him to just drop down, and you see a few blades of grass underneath. And he starts to vomit this bile, this orange bile, and you see the cracks in his jaw as the bones start to shift and change, his ears growing longer like a troll, and then they go back again to like a rat, and his jaw refixes back into position. Nothing happens.
The rat looks to Lysander and he speaks to him and says, "You are distracting me."
Oh, it's performing anxiety. Okay. Should I turn around?
He just nods. There's a nod of the little rat head.
Lysander just turns away from the rat.
Do I just get to try again, or?
Well, this is what I'm thinking, because what would be the point in rolling again? I'm going to say for the remainder of the scene, you cannot.
Okay. I'm a rat now. All right.
Well, in that case, Lysander's going to offer his hand to get the rat back in a warm pocket.
That's perfect. Thank you. I'll be a
You
rat
can
in your
sit there
pocket.
and look out. And Lysander's going to look to Astrid. I mean, we're going to need the fire.
Oh yeah.
We were lucky enough to run into them, so we have to go after him, right?
Astrid was with Bartolom, like kind of pulling him up to stand up straight, and we'll find your stone. It's important to you, isn't it?
It's important that we survive. I'll go look for some more wood. It's going to be a terrible fire, but at least it will burn for a bit. Try not to be a few more than maybe an hour or two.
It won't be long.
No promises.
If you don't come back in an hour or two, we're going to have to travel in the night. We'll be going north, down, as quickly as we can.
Look for Meliora if we get too far away.
And try to keep the old man warm.
And he's woken now and he's shivering, and yeah, he does so.
Astrid grabs one of the torches, or a torch strapped to the side of her backpack, lights it in the dying flames.
Just lights up, and you have illumination now in the dark.
Start trudging towards where we see the marks in the snow, I guess.
Yeah, I think Lysander's going to do another loud whistle, hoping for a whistle back from Meliora to head in that direction.
So Meliora flies back in. She squawks a few times, and she doesn't so much speak to you, but flies off in the direction of the tracks. And you guys march on.